Hi there, everyone. Welcome and thanks for joining us for another informative weekend edition of Jamaica Magazine. I'm your host, Adrian Atkinson. In this half-hour journey, we will have stories of development from our Western Roundup segment and a look at the Agro-investment Corporation's quest to farm Jamaica's future. And as usual, we get health-wise. Sit back and relax with us for these and more interesting features packaged for your viewing pleasure.
Jamaicans consume on average 9 to 12 grams of sodium or salt per day, twice the World Health Organization recommended amount of less than 5 grams or 1 teaspoon of salt, and more ideally, less than 2 grams of sodium per adult per day from all food sources. This excess salt in the diet causes high blood pressure, kidney and bone damage, gastric cancer, obesity, and worsening of asthma. Reduce the amount of salt you consume to no more than 3 to 5 grams, or half to 1 teaspoon per day for adults, and less than 2 grams for children under 11 years of age. Let's shake the salt habit and live healthy. A public service message from the Jamaica Information Service.
A community park, donations of hospital supplies, and new road are among the developments highlighted out west this week. Team member Nikita Sterling is here to guide the journey.
Residents in Salt Spring benefit from a new community park.
No, we really appreciate this project, the green space.
Cornwall Regional Hospital receives donation to boost their cancer care department.
We're happy to see these chairs. It will be put to great use.
And new roads open in southern Trelawney.
The rehabilitation became a dream that turned out into a reality.
Stick around for the details in this episode of Western Roundup. It promises to be good. Residents in Salt Spring, St. James now have access to a green space for recreational, physical, and social activities within their community. A well-needed addition to the landscape of the community.
JSIF came into our community over a little over 2 years, and they have been doing a tremendous job. Now we really appreciate this project, the green space, where persons can have a chance to come and relax, rejuvenate, cool off, as they would say. You and somebody have a conflict, you can come and cool off. You have a chill spot. We also appreciate the school, the upliftment of the school, the reinforcement of the fences. The children of Salt Spring Primary really appreciate it, and the community as well.
Yeah, I love the whole movement and the whole thing, because you know Salt Spring is one place where everybody look for everybody, you know what I mean? So I know say something good can come out of this, you know what I mean? So I love the movement and I love the whole changes and everything, you know what I mean? Only thing we want next a community center so you can go learn some skill.
The green space, which was completed at a cost of 4 million Jamaican dollars, was provided by the Jamaica Social Investment Fund (JSIF) through the agency's Integrated Community Development Project 2.
Since 2020, actually, we have been here doing investments in Salt Spring because under our Integrated Community Development Project, the government has asked or directed in some respect for us to pay some attention to the Salt Spring community. The park behind us today is not just about play. Today is about building from strength to strength. I expect this area is just a start of what can happen.
The green space includes the installation of a perimeter fencing, gates, park benches and tables, construction of a gazebo, provision of solar lighting, and landscaping including ornamental plants. The new park is expected to benefit some 9,487 residents. At the Cornwall Regional Hospital in St. James, patients receiving cancer care treatment will now have the opportunity to do so in comfort, with the addition of 3 chemotherapy infusion chairs to their inventory. The donation, which was made by the Heart and Soul Cancer Foundation of Jamaica Limited out of Trelawney, will increase the number of chemotherapy infusion chairs at the hospital's cancer care center to 12.
I met with Nurse Hutchinson, and I sat there and I observed, and I'm writing my notes, and I said, okay, 9 chemotherapy chairs, and you are servicing patient from St. Mary, Portland, Trelawney, St. Anne, St. James, Westmoreland, and over St. Elizabeth. I said no. And the nurses sometimes, and the patient comes early and leave late. So I said, no, we have to do something.
The chairs, which cost approximately 500,000 Jamaican dollars, were obtained in partnership with Friends of the Cornwall Regional Hospital, Jamaica National Bank, National Commercial Bank, Toyota Jamaica, Hyundai, and members of the diaspora. The Heart and Soul Cancer Foundation of Jamaica Limited seeks to serve women facing challenges dealing with breast cancer. Finally, over in Trelawney, more than 1,400 residents of the farming community of Troy can now easily traverse their community with the recent rehabilitation of 2 roads at a combined cost of 106 million Jamaican dollars.
The rehabilitation of the common road is one of the best projects we have ever seen in our community. In previous years, the road was in a deplorable condition. A lot of persons were being affected, which includes farmers, community members, taxi operators, and our dear children. People were becoming frustrated, and they were even planning to relocate to areas where they have better roads. Now, with the assistance of the Troy CDC, JSIF, our mayor, Mr. Colin Gager, and other stakeholders, the rehabilitation became a dream that turned out into a reality. Again, I say thank you to JSIF, our community members, and all the other stakeholders that made this project a success.
The work, which was executed by the Jamaica Social Investment Fund (JSIF) under the 9th cycle of the Basic Needs Trust Fund (BNTF), involved improvement of the 1 kilometer common road at a cost of 67.3 million Jamaican dollars and the 650 meter Starrap Lane Road for $39.1 million.
We applaud CDB for their program, the BNTF 9, that's the Basic Needs Trust Fund. It has been over 40 years since most of these roads were last rehabilitated. And you can see the effect it can cause on livelihoods of the residents and, of course, more importantly, on our farmers. I am sure that the initiative comes as a ray of hope to all our farmers and citizens.
The BNTF is a special fund of the Caribbean Development Bank that is distributed to borrowing member countries in the form of grants to allow for the development of critical infrastructure and social services. That's all for the program today. As usual, thanks for joining us for Western Roundup, where we take you from the corners of St. Elizabeth to the hilly terrains of St. Anne. Remember to send your feedback to jismobe@jis.gov.jm. Until next time, take care.
What a way you're full of our roots and culture. That was in Jamaica 60. Jamaica 60? What a piece of news, Miss Matty. I feel like my heart going bust up.
Just in, the island of Jamaica is on the verge of celebrating its 60th year of independence.
I only we have to celebrate it now. They say the people them, you know, them come here, you know. But you see, when our people decide, say the other people them free paper, burn up. Them say if it's war, start it, whatever. We all collect medal, panta fight, you know.
Medal.
Amount of tongue we give them, you know.
The celebrations are slated to begin on January 1st, 2022. Organized by the Ministry of Culture, Gender, Entertainment and Sport. We have more in this report.
I am on site and planning activities are ablaze. Persons are advised to download the Reggae Jamaica app to know what it pre. Activities for the Jamaica 60 celebration.
Yeah. I download the app to get the updates then.
The Agro-investment Corporation, AIC, has been providing support for investments in agriculture and connecting partners to increase trade and export. This mission continues, and we'll learn more in our next feature.
If I can get 500 bags of turmeric, how do I get it to America?
Jamaica's agriculture sector is gearing up to dig deeper roots through the many opportunities coming out of its first hybrid agribusiness investment forum. The market is open as the Ministry of Agriculture and Fisheries, through the Agro-investment Corporation, AIC, seeks to widen the net of large-scale investments in agriculture. In a race to preserve Jamaica's food security, the sector is being rebranded as more than just a tool for survival. The investment forum featured over 500 participants joining virtually as stakeholders from government, finance, export, and regulations shared expertise on the business process of agriculture.
Agro-invest will continue to play our part by facilitating the business assets through matching one-on-one dialogue, collating, reviewing, and disseminating a set of bankable projects that would interest investors, promoting region-wide network for expanding production and distribution, matching agribusiness entrepreneurs wishing to network with potential investors to collaborate on new opportunities in the agri-sector.
Over the past 2 years, the AIC has provided strong support to farmers and investors by writing 300 business plans, putting 2,000 acres of land into production, and connecting producers with exporters by organizing export functions. Now, the AIC is tackling some of the challenges in the agriculture sector by inviting stakeholders to benefit from its myriad of services.
The AIC is here to facilitate investments on a large scale in our country.
One avenue for AIC investment support is through the agro-parks. What is this and how do I get involved, you may ask? An agro-park is a parcel of land equipped with the right facilities and services to ensure agricultural production can thrive at all levels of the value chain. Investors are invited to make applications to the AIC for lands in the agro-parks, where they are assessed based on the required conditions and then placed.
We want to dive into the reality of the several hundreds of acres that our rural women network wants us to tap into, so that we can say to Jamaica that there's no longer idle land. But if you see land that is not cultivated, it's because we choose for it to not be cultivated. We have 810 acres that have been allocated to the development of the Mango Agro Park in Tollgate, Clarendon, on the former sugarcane lands. We are managing the process, and we have attracted over 50 investors and placed already 14 of the 50. We have also spent $120 million developing the property, supporting irrigation, roads, and other infrastructure.
The vibrancy in Jamaica's agriculture sector is springing up with urgency as the government is cultivating strategic investments. 8 agro-parks and 9 agricultural production zones is just the start. In the last 2 years, the AIC has increased the acreage of lands in production from 2,786 to 5,300 acres, with more than 500 farmers engaged. To reap the immense benefits from the business of farming, more work is being done to get the right products across the globe.
We have to play to the food trends in the market. Organic, sustainable superfoods. Look how many of those superfoods we produce in Jamaica. It's extraordinary. Yam and sweet potato are much better for you than Irish potato. What are we doing about positioning our products?
Adding to this is the regulation and certification of produce for export, which comes with several benefits for the successful agripreneur.
we have several bilateral agreements from the regulatory standpoint that already exist, which means we have ready markets for you based on these agreements. And so quite often you don't really need to do much, just have your facilities ready as well as the produce.
It's the composite of putting the business into farming and budding more interest in the sector among the youth.
But not just farming where you have straw hat and boots. Nothing wrong with that. But we want to encourage them to see it as you now being innovators, creators, bringing the technology, bringing the drone technology, bringing all of the computerization and use of digital and software. And let our youngsters from early childhood, 3-year-old, 4-year-old must be excited about it. Let's change the way we introduce agriculture to them.
Farming is the future of Jamaica. According to the Food and Agriculture Organization of the United Nations, the FAO, world food production must increase to 70% by 2050 to feed the global population.
And that is why we have scored investment of $120 million on our Holland agro-economic zone, where a factory is being constructed right now to expand agro-processing there.
Calling all farmers and fisher folk, the Agricare insurance plan enrollment period is now open until May 31st.
We have an open enrollment period generally of the plan where members are able to enroll without any medical evidence of insurability.
Farmers and fisher folk up to age 75 who are registered with RADA or the National Fisheries Authority are eligible to enroll.
There's still a lot of opportunity for persons to enroll, and I think we need to ensure that we're making persons more aware of the products and the plans that are available, because something is available for everyone.
You can determine between health, life or critical insurance plans based on importance and affordability. Enrollment is from March 1st to May 31st each year. Visit the nearest Sagicor location or website to sign up. The Agricare Insurance Plan, a partnership of the Ministry of Agriculture and Fisheries and Sagicor Life Jamaica.
Finance Minister Dr. Nigel Clark appealed to public sector workers for patience and calm during the compensation restructuring exercise and gave a timeline of 6 months for completion. Here's the full address.
My fellow Jamaicans, good evening. Many of us would have observed the incidences of industrial action in the public sector last week with concern. Jamaica has shown great resilience in the face of monumental and historic economic adversity brought on by the global COVID-19 pandemic, and today we are experiencing a recovery of jobs and economic output way ahead of other countries in our region, and in a manner that defies our historical experience. Companies are expanding, new hotels are being built, and residential and commercial and warehousing construction continues to increase. For the first time in living memory, many businesses are actually reporting a shortage in available labor. Jamaica is undoubtedly moving forward, though we still have a long way to go. However, this much-needed economic recovery can easily be interrupted and reversed if services are disrupted due to industrial action. Such a reversal would set Jamaica back tremendously, costing jobs. This would negatively impact us all, from the decline in government revenues that would follow and the cuts in budgetary expenditure that would then become necessary. Jamaica cannot afford this. On behalf of all Jamaicans, therefore, I appeal to all public sector employees for patience and for calm. We understand your apprehension, we understand your fear. We know that you have been waiting a long time for the compensation restructuring reform, and many are now anxious about what it might mean for you. We know you have been hearing things, sharing figures, viewing calculations, and there may be some misunderstandings about how this will all work. It is certainly possible that in some instances you are receiving partial and incomplete information out of context. I humbly ask that you avoid conclusions at this point. There is a consultative process underway. Things will be much clearer once these consultations with your union or bargaining group are completed. For a complex and ambitious reform such as this restructuring of public sector compensation across all of government for 110,000 public sector employees organized into 47 central government bargaining units and 140 public bodies, there has to be an established process as we drive towards implementation. The process is that for those who work in central government, civil servants, police, teachers, nurses, doctors, dentists, other healthcare workers, correctional officers, firefighters, etc., we have been engaged in consultations with your union and bargaining group representatives. The Ministry of Finance and the Public Service has already met with 45 out of the 47 central government bargaining groups and unions. You will have the opportunity to provide feedback, which will be considered in the second round of consultations, which will shortly begin. There is therefore an established mechanism through which concerns, misconceptions, and/or misunderstandings can be addressed. Please take us at our word that no public sector employee will be worse off. Some persons have responded to this assurance with calculations, valid or invalid, that supposedly demonstrate a decline in net pay as a supposed refutation of this assurance. This is misplaced. The assurance is not a statement that contends that everyone is better off with the proposals on the table. We are aware that in any set of proposals designed to cover 110,000 public sector employees, there could be cases where the proposed changes lead to less net pay. What the assurance instead means, however, is that wherever through reasoned, objective, and data-driven feedback it can be proven that someone would indeed be worse off, we will work to find a fix. For public sector employees employed to public bodies, I know that you have heard where your colleagues in central government are in receipt of information about the compensation restructuring, and your management and your representatives have not yet been able to tell you when your consultations will begin. This has been met with displeasure. I completely understand that. For those public bodies such as the National Water Commission, the National Irrigation Commission, the Broadcasting Commission, Civil Aviation Authority, PICA, Petrojam, among others, where the agitation for reclassification exercises predates the commencement of this all-of-government compensation restructuring reform, it is particularly irksome for you that from your perspective, now that compensation restructuring is here, you now seem to be at the back of the queue. The irony for you is too much to absorb. I understand that too. Given the huge scope of this exercise, however, and its complexity, for better or worse, we decided to conclude with central government first and then engage with public bodies. Given current timelines, we anticipate that engagement with public bodies will occur within the next 6 months, similar to the timeline provided to the NWC. Though this timeline may seem far away, I ask you to consider that such a comprehensive reform with respect to public sector compensation has no precedent in Jamaica. It has never happened before. We have been ambitious in looking after your interests. We therefore ask for patience. We need the same patience which allowed the hard-working teams to complete 4 years of work setting up the policy framework for this reform, engaging the public sector about its key elements, procuring and engaging the services of multinational consultants, collecting and analyzing data on 110,000 jobs, designing and completing surveys, modeling, forecasting, and communicating. After enduring the road phase of this reform marathon, we have now entered the stadium and are actually on the home stretch in full visibility of the finish line. It is supreme patience that got us here. As close as we are, we cannot now afford to collapse on the track. Instead, fueled by that same patience, together we can make it across the finish line. We are further strengthening our partnership with our trade union partners and bargaining groups, with whom we have achieved tremendous things over the years. This process is and will be inclusive and will consider all views. We have approached the restructuring of public sector compensation with great ambition. Working with our partners in the trade unions and bargaining groups, we are doing what has never been done before in Jamaica. The public sector has been through a long night, and the day of reform finally approaches. But, my fellow Jamaicans, it is always darkest just before dawn. Let not the darkness of this brief pre-dawn period lead us to stumble as a society. Kicking our own can of milk over, even if unintended, will only delay the emergence of daylight. And even then, with spilt milk, daylight would not be sustained. Patience and orderly discourse, on the other hand, will allow a sustainable dawn to emerge. You can rely on the partnership between the government, trade unions, and bargaining groups to secure the interests of all public sector employees and the wider Jamaican society as we advance this ambitious, necessary, and important reform. I will continue to keep you updated. God bless you, and God bless Jamaica.
And that's all for Jamaica Magazine today. Be sure to join us again tomorrow for another show. Until then, there is more to watch on our channel and website, jis.gov.jm. Also, check out all the major social media platforms and our mobile app that's Android and iOS compatible. On behalf of the entire production team, I'm Adrian Atkinson. Till next time, do take care and keep safe.
This has been a production of the Jamaica Information Service, the voice of Jamaica.